Welcome back. I'm Curtis Smith, and we're still visiting with Rick Page about the many different flowering plants we can grow in New Mexico, especially in northern New Mexico. We're looking at some that tend to do well in a more well-watered landscape, but most of these will do really well, even in a xeriscape. Rick, I see we've got the New Mexico Penstemons here, Rocky Mountain Penstemon. Beautiful blue. I know I've tried to photograph it with film, and you can't get this color. It's prettier than the film can see. It tends to come out more purple, whereas this really has more of a cobalt blue and violet in it. And so it's a real pretty flower.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And we've also got a red one right next to it. It's Rocky Mountain. So this is Penstemon strictus. This one is Penstemon Eatonii. And so we want to let people know that there are some red ones that go with the blues. And there are some white, so we get a red, white, and blue Penstemons.
Right, that's right.
And so we can be very patriotic with it. But one thing about the reds, hummingbirds love red.
That's what you're telling me.
And so this is a good way to attract hummingbirds. And this blooms early in the season. So as the hummingbirds are moving back into the area, we've got a food supply, a pretty food supply waiting for them. So they'll come in pretty quickly. These are plants that we don't want to water very much. They like some spring moisture, maybe some winter moisture. But we want to be pretty careful with the water. So as you grow Penstemons, especially our southwestern Penstemons, learn how to grow them. They're excellent plants, good perennials, but they have a problem with water. And I see you've got your hand on one of the most dangerous flowers in the landscape if you're on a diet.
Why is it dangerous?
Chocolate flower smells like chocolate. And so this beautiful yellow flower makes you hungry, especially if you're a chocoholic like me. So you run around looking for the chocolate. And what's really interesting, if you look at the back side, it's got brown chocolate stripes on the back side of the petals. And so it kind of warns you that it's going to do that to you. This is a beautiful plant. It spreads, it gets fairly large in the pots. A lot of xeriscape plants, when they're in the pot, don't grow well. But we put them in the landscape, they just explode and grow. And this one doesn't take a lot of water. It'll take some, but it doesn't take a tremendous amount of water. Right here in front of it's paper flower, another one that's good for New Mexico. Beautiful. And then we've got another red one here. For the hummingbird. Oh, let's don't skip that.
You missed the
Desert
Marigold.
Dahlia. And this is a good one. It likes really dry, gravelly locations. And so it's one that's going to be good for a xeriscape. Comes back and blooms over and over unless you water it too much, and then you'll kill it. Beautiful silvery foliage, bright, bright yellow color. It's a good plant to have in the landscape. So now let's go and make the hummingbirds happy again with this cherry sage or autumn sage, Salvia gregii. It comes in a variety of colors from the reds to pink to purplish to white.
Yeah, real easy to grow. Gets about a couple feet tall.
Up in the northern part of the state, though, it's going to have a hardiness problem.
That's true. Even here sometimes, if they put in a cold spot, I've noticed it doesn't come back.
The really cold locations. But otherwise it makes a shrub. It's deciduous, so it's going to drop its leaves. And right behind it's a nice purple. This is a wallflower.
Bowles mauve. It's pretty popular. You see it all over the place.
It's a lot of people call and say, well, what is that purple thing? It starts blooming so early in the spring. Bowles mauve. And it's a beautiful plant. It may not live forever in your landscape, but it'll live as a short-lived perennial, take a few years, be pretty. You may have to replace it, but it's an excellent plant. In the landscape, again, fairly xeric, but it'll tolerate some moisture. Let's see, what else do we have here? You mentioned you like this one.
The Neurobergia. Yeah, my sister-in-law grows this and loves it. Blooms for a really long time, about a foot tall, and I think you can get this color. It's pretty intense purple. It's got a little yellow on the inside.
A very fine textured foliage.
Yep, and a xeriscape plant.
A good xeric plant. And then let's add another one that looks a lot like it. We'll put them side by side here.
Ooh, those would be nice together, yeah.
I like the sky blue a little bit better of the flax, the blue flax.
Yeah, this will seed itself very easily. You'll find it all over your yard if you plant one of these.
And it's a good one for planting, and moderately xeric too. You'll need to irrigate it some, but it does well. And short-lived, but it seeds itself and comes right back. At least mine were always short-lived. They'd die out after a couple of years.
And they tend to bloom up until maybe about noontime.
Yeah, then the flowers tend to close up, which is typical for a lot of plants adapted to hot climates. They close up so they can tolerate the heat of the day. And then to one of my favorites, again, it's a double here. We'll bring both of them, starting with this one, and that's Gara lentimeri. Beautiful, it'll get fairly large, these white flowers will kind of look like moths fluttering in the landscape. Beautiful.
I had half an acre of this up in Northern California. It just grows like a, well, like a weed.
Well, it could
but
be
it's
in
a lot
some places.
Prettier, a lot prettier.
A beautiful flower and very attractive. And then in the recent years, we've had Siskiyou pink to add to it. This pink one to add a little extra contrast and excitement in the landscape. Beautiful flowers to put together. This one's going to be a little more attractive to the hummingbirds, and the moths love them, the butterflies like them. So we can grow a lot of plants which do a lot more in the landscape than just make us happy. We can grow things that keep other things going. And then we've got a few things we grow more for the foliage. Dusty Miller, common plant. We'll have some yellow flowers. We don't tend to grow it for the flowers, we grow it for the silvery foliage. Some winters it may overwinter in the Albuquerque area, but frequently it freezes out and you have to replant. But it's an excellent bedding plant to use. And then I like to look at the grasses as part of the landscape. This one, short, bluish green, and this is the sheep fescue, blue sheep fescue. Grows a nice mound of bluish foliage, and it can be used as a shrub. And this one's called threadgrass, waves in the wind. Both of these have a nice tan color. So these are plants you can use in your landscape, these to set off the flowers. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.